The seminary was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where young men like Thomas could dedicate their lives to God, free from the temptations and trials of the outside world. He had arrived with an earnest heart, eager to learn, to serve, to walk closer to the divine. But his journey took an unforeseen, dark turn, transforming his spiritual haven into a personal hell, headed by a man he once revered, Reverend Father Michael. Father Michael was everything Thomas aspired to be: charismatic, intelligent, and deeply respected by his peers and the community. He was known for his captivating sermons and his compassionate guidance, a true shepherd to his flock. Thomas, like many other seminarians, looked up to him, sought his counsel, and trusted him implicitly. This trust, however, was about to be shattered. It began subtly, with an unusual closeness, an unsettling intensity in Father Michael's gaze. Thomas, naive and focused on his spiritual duties, initially dismissed it as a manifestation of the Father's paternal care. He was new to the seminary, away from home for the first time, and perhaps he thought Father Michael was simply offering comfort and mentorship. Then came the late-night invitations to Father Michael's private chambers for spiritual discussions. Thomas, initially flattered by the special attention, soon found these meetings taking a disquieting turn. The conversations veered away from theology, becoming uncomfortably personal. Father Michael would speak of loneliness, of the burdens of his position, and then, slowly, his words would become laced with innuendo, his touch lingering a moment too long on Thomas's arm or shoulder. Fear began to intertwine with confusion in Thomas's heart. He started to dread these private sessions, his stomach churning with anxiety whenever a summons arrived that he tried to politely decline, citing studies or other duties. But Father Michael's persistence was unnerving, often accompanied by subtle guilt trips about obedience and spiritual growth. The whispers in the seminary corridors, once dismissed as mere rumors, now started to echo in Thomas's mind. Stories of previous seminarians who had abruptly left, their departures shrouded in vague explanations of finding a different path or personal struggles. Thomas began to wonder if they, too, had experienced Father Michael's unsettling attention. One evening, after a particularly uncomfortable discussion, where Father Michael's advances became undeniable, Thomas fled. He ran, not to his room, but into the quiet, starlit seminary gardens, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The sanctity of the place, the very air he breathed, now felt tainted. He confided in no one. Shame and fear held him captive. How could he, a young seminarian, accuse a man so revered, so powerful, a man of God? Who would believe him? Would he be seen as a liar, a tempter, a disruptive force trying to tarnish the seminary's reputation? The thought of facing the skepticism, the judgment, was almost as terrifying as the encounters themselves. The spiritual fervor that had once fueled Thomas's aspirations began to wane, replaced by a gnawing emptiness. He found it difficult to pray, to focus during Mass, or to find solace in the scriptures he once loved. The image of Father Michael, once a beacon of faith, was now a source of profound anguish and betrayal. The seminary, once a sanctuary, had become a prison of silence, fear, and a shattering loss of innocence. Thomas knew he couldn't stay, but leaving meant abandoning his dream, facing his family's disappointment, and carrying the unspoken burden of his ordeal. He was trapped, caught between his shattered faith and a world that might never understand. The ordeal had just begun.